This episode is brought to you by Nespresso. Gift magical mornings with Nespresso Virtuo Pop. Compact and stylish, Virtuo Pop is made to meet every morning coffee craving. From espresso to coffee, hot or iced, at the click of a button. And celebrate the season with Nespresso's limited edition coffee flavors. Sweet almond and hibiscus, cinnamon and candied tamarind, and festive double espresso. Magic in the making. Shop the holiday gift collection exclusively at Nespresso.com.
Toast the holidays in a new way and raise a glass of rum chata. A delicious creamy blend of horchata with rum. Enjoy it over ice or in your coffee. Rum chata, your holiday cocktails just got sweeter. Tap or click the banner for more. Drink responsibly. Caribbean rum with real dairy cream, natural and artificial flavors. Alcohol 13.75% by volume, 27.5 proof. Copyright 2025 Agave Loco Brands, Pewaukee, Wisconsin. All rights reserved.
Broadcasting from the neutral zone, where every perspective gets diplomatic immunity. This is The Last Show with David Cooper.
The strange, wild world of mosquitoes, why they hunt at dawn and dusk, and whether rewiring their internal clocks could finally stop those bites that drive us mad. But how will we do it, and why will we do it? We're here with people who've researched this. They're from the Department of Biological Sciences at Columbia University. I'm here with Dr. Laura Duvall. Laura, welcome.
Thank you for having us.
And of course, here with Linhan Dong. Linhan, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having us.
All right. For someone who has never thought or studied about mosquito behavior before, what does it mean when your research says a mosquito has this internal clock?
So we've known for a pretty long time that we tend to get bitten at a certain time of day. For me personally, when I walk my dog around dawn and dusk, right, I get bitten by mosquitoes from the lawn around my campus. But what we are actually interested in is there like a mosquito component to this rhythm? So we kind of hypothesize that there might be differences in basically how they're sensing us and how they're biting it at different times of day.
Interesting. So, and those times of day you found is dawn and dusk. I think anecdotally we all know that if we've ever been into the wilderness or whatever. What's happening inside their bodies that turns them into predators at these times?
So what we know is that mosquitoes are actually responding to certain host cues differently at different times of day. So they're using a lot of cues to find us and bite us. Carbon dioxide is the one that we focused on in this study, but they're also attracted to the way that you smell, your body temperature. And so what we were able to do was basically videotape mosquitoes at different times of day when we gave them different cues that humans were potentially nearby. And what we saw is that there were differences not only in whether or not they responded to those cues, but also how persistently they responded. So what we found is that if you give them a little pulse of carbon dioxide at dawn or dusk, this drives like more than 10 minutes of flight activity. That means that, if they get just a hint that you are nearby, that's 10 minutes of attempting to hunt you and bite you.
Interesting. So all I have to do is like shower a lot so I don't smell and not breathe out carbon dioxide, which I think is very easy for humans to do. And then mosquitoes won't be able to find us.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. But that's not exactly your research. So how would we tweak a mosquito or alter it in a way that it wouldn't respond to these cues?
So one of the things that this data suggests is that there are times of day when mosquitoes are really good at finding us and biting us. They're really sensitive to the cues that we put out. They're responding really persistently to those cues. But you can think of the opposite side of the coin. This also means that there are times of day when they are not very good at finding us or not very persistent in hunting us. And so one of the things that we'd like to do in the future is figure out if there are ways that we can sort of lock mosquitoes into that state when she's not very good at biting humans.
Interesting. And are you planning on like altering their genes or mutating them to do it? I mean, this is kind of cool stuff.
So actually in our study that we just published, we kind of attempted at that for a little bit because as you mentioned, these mosquitoes have their own internal clocks, right? So we actually targeted one gene using a CRISPR-Cas genome editing system to basically nap this gene out so that the mosquito clock is now desynchronized. So now these mosquitoes have a kind of messed up system of a clock. So what we found with this is that once we tweak this one component of the whole clock system,
these mosquitoes are actually less efficient at biting, but only in the morning. So the two dawn and dusk peak of biting, we're able to change this one gene to suppress their efficiency at biting in the morning.
Linhan, you just casually said, we'll edit one gene using CRISPR, no problem. Can you say more about that? I mean, that is a complicated, amazing thing. How does that all work?
So we know from other species that there are certain genes that are important for this maintaining of this clock. And we kind of took some inspiration from a typical neuroscience species, Drosophila melanogaster. This is just fruit fly. And we kind of know from them that there's this one specific molecule that is very important to synchronizing the clock. And by saying we're doing genome editing, we're actually injecting the mosquito embryo with a specific mix of enzymes and targets to only target this one gene specifically to make sure it's not functional anymore in our mutants.
And so you tried it. You had this modified mosquito. How did it end up behaving?
So as I said, these mosquitoes, after they have the desynchronized clock, they are kind of messed up, but only in the morning. So this means that they're less active in the morning, but they're just as active in the evening. They're less efficient at biting in the morning, but they're equally efficient at biting in the evening.
So why would we want to do this? What would be the end result? How would this help humanity if mosquitoes bit less during certain times?
Well, so one thing that's useful for us to know in the first place is when mosquitoes are normally active. This is something that you could use today for strategies that people are already using to try and control mosquitoes. So for example, if you know they're particularly actively biting at dawn and at dusk, you can apply mosquito control at those times of day. One of the other things that we've been interested in looking at is when they might be performing other behaviors as well. So things like egg laying. So if you know that mosquitoes are doing these things at particular times of day, this means that you can more strategically use the tools that you already have to control or to limit mosquito populations.
And the goal here is to stop disease spread, right?
So I would say the goal is to stop disease spread, but we're also what I think of as a basic discovery science lab. And so one of the main goals in our research group is to make new discoveries about how mosquitoes are regulating this attraction to find and bite humans.
Are there any ethical considerations when you're modifying, DNA of mosquitoes in the lab like this?
So one thing I should say is that all of the mosquito mutants that we have made are generally worse at life than their wild type or control counterparts. But these are mosquitoes. These would not be released into the wild. We keep them under careful lock and key in our laboratory. But as John sort of alluded to, or Linhan alluded to before, this is something that is really new. Making these mutant mosquitoes is something that you really couldn't do more than 10 years ago. So a lot of the things that we learned about biological clocks came from what you might think of as traditional lab animals like fruit flies or mice. But thanks to this sort of CRISPR-Cas9 revolution, we can now actually directly mutate these things in mosquitoes, in the animals that are actually finding and biting humans, instead of trying to model it in a different species.
Well, I could see this being really useful, given that climate change is expanding mosquito habitats and disease risks are growing. Do you see a future where modified mosquitoes are released using technology or research similar to yours to try to curb disease spread and population growth?
So in some cases, that's already been happening. So mostly not to look at their daily biting patterns, mostly to try and disrupt mating behavior.
Sterilizing them.
Exactly, to sterilize them. But one thing that I also want to point out is that we did our research in one species of mosquitoes, Aedes aegypti. So the reason that we chose this species is that this is really the global bad girl of pathogen transmission. But she doesn't live in places like New York City, where we are. But there are closely related species that can transmit many of the same diseases that may also be kind of sharing the same tools to regulate their attraction to find and bite humans as well. So we think that the findings that we've made in this one species may also be true in a lot of other mosquito species that are really heavily invasive and really spreading diseases to places of the world that they weren't normally found before.
Well, I'm here with researchers from the Department of Biological Sciences at Columbia University, Linhan Dong and Dr. Laura Duvall. Laura, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your research.
Thank you so much.
And Linhan, thank you for joining me as well.
Thank you, Duke.
Doug.
Here we have the Limu Emu in its natural habitat, helping people customize their car insurance and save hundreds with Liberty Mutual. Fascinating. It's accompanied by his natural ally, Doug.
Limu? Is that guy with the binoculars watching us?
Cut the camera. They see us.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Savings vary. Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Excludes Massachusetts.